We've got slightly grey skies here today, so I've gone for blue, so we can get some blue skies in our lives, as it were. So let's begin with our simple warm-up, and then we'll go into our standing meditation. Okay, so usual story, give yourself a generous stance, nice and wide, your knees are softly bent, your back's nice and straight, arms just hanging down by your sides. We've got this lovely straight column of our spine. We do that just by moving the tailbone softly forward, by drawing the chin gently backwards. And then there's this kind of slightly nebulous instruction, which is draw mind back. From all the things you have going on in your morning, just gently drawing the mind back inside, allowing the mind to settle deep inside the belly, bringing yourself back to yourself to begin your exercises. We can just gently turn and see how the spine feels today and have a little look over the shoulder, squeeze over the shoulder, gently push into that. And then we can just do that a couple of times. And if you feel that your spine is okay, just release into the whole thing. Allow that natural turn to come in. Tapping with the wrist on the small of the back. Tapping with the forearm on the belly. Opening up the palms of the hands and let them tap. They gently tap onto the sides. You have to excuse me if I'm sounding a bit blocked up over the last couple of days. My lungs have been very blocked. I think I've been processing a bit of grief, but also winter is cold time. But of course, the things cannot be sort of brought apart, as it were. I think that when you're in an emotional situation, that your immune system drops. And I think that's one of the things. Well, I suppose obviously there's two sides to every coin, because if you have an infection, your immune system is immediately kind of brought into action to fight that. But also, if you have an emotional crisis, then of course that also requires you to process on a slightly different level, on an emotions level rather than a chi level. But they all have a result in the physical. So it's not possible to really tease them apart and see what's going on. Just have to accept these things and think, okay, fair enough. Well, my body's going through a few changes, and that's that. When we talk about how the emotions work in the body, the standard Chinese framework for it is that each of the 5 organs are responsible for a different set of emotions. And so the idea is that there's a chemical trigger in the body, but something has to fire that chemical trigger. So occasionally it's kind of external stimuli, but more often than not, it's internal stimuli. And so what we're talking about are thoughts. So thoughts trigger in an electromagnetic kind of way through the synapses. And that brings about a chemical messenger change in your body. And the chemical messengers react in the body in different ways. And so a perfect example of it would be something like anger, because we see anger so very quickly. People sometimes can have this sort of flash anger that suddenly pops up out of nowhere. And who knows what the trigger is, but let's just say you see something on the news. That's generally able to get a lot of people cross. You see something on the news, and that triggers an emotion in you. So think about someone who was old, who was in the war, and so perhaps they see something about a war and they know how bad that war can be in reality because they've been through it. And so they see it on the TV, and then suddenly the body triggers the memories inside. The memories create this chemical cascade inside the body. The chemical cascade kicks off the liver emotion. The liver emotion is anger, and the anger rises up in the body. And so in a in a liver sense, liver chi should remain in your liver or moving around the liver channels. But it's almost as if the liver chi can move upwards because it's no longer held downwards. It's been released. And the liver chi moves up in the body. And the first thing we see when people get angry is their faces go bright red. So we know that the liver is the messenger of the blood, moves blood around your body and obviously the heart pumps it around, but the liver is in charge of kind of creating and cleaning blood. And so it's seen as being kind of the home of the blood in Chinese medicine. And so then the blood moves and rushes up in accordance with this chemical messenger, in accordance with this emotional thought. And then we suddenly see people's faces go red, and then they're sort of blustering and shouting at the TV. And so that's taken some memory from some distant past to create a physiological change in the body. So how often do your memories create physiological changes in your body? Well, if we look at someone like Joe Dispenza, he talks about 95% of all of our brain functions being subconscious. So you know how complex life is on a daily basis. And what you're actually getting is only 5% of what you take in. So that's quite alarming news. But the point about it is that we take in hundreds of millions of points of information every single second. So you step out your front door and you look left and right, up and down the street, and you've seen, 10,000 different points of information as you look up and down the street. But if you were to store all of that, then it would be utterly useless. I imagine it'd be like your hard drive would be full in a few days' time, and you'd have to do a lot of cleaning out before you could use your brain again. And so the subconscious does that for us. It filters through using our patterns. It looks up and down the street and it doesn't see anything out of the ordinary and it doesn't register anything new. So you just think, ho hum, normal day. But you happen to, somewhere in the back of your mind, your brain goes, that was different. You think that was a car I haven't seen before, and you think, I wonder what that's about. And you see two men sitting in it with trilbies and greatcoats and smoking cigarettes, and suddenly you feel you're under surveillance. Well, perhaps that's a little bit of a strange twist to our story, but you get the idea is that something triggers inside your brain. You think, oh, it's not the same. And so that one piece of information filters to the forefront and becomes important to you, whereas the other 9,999 pieces of information are just kind of pushed to the back. And so this is sometimes where we sort of see this idea that perhaps, in a crime thriller, that somebody's hypnotized and can they bring back a vital piece of information? The idea being is that, your brain sometimes holds on to things at a subconscious level that could be accessed again. So, taking this rather dramatic example, what stories trigger subconsciously in the depth of your mind? I remember one book that I was reading, and he was talking about his own life, and he was saying his girlfriend had left him, 5 years beforehand. She drove a little red Corvette convertible car, and every time he was driving along this clearly streets of California, I think, and he saw a red Corvette with a blonde sitting behind the wheel, not her, but enough to trigger a whole series of emotions. He would suddenly say, God, just sitting there behind the wheel, I would suddenly think about the breakup. I would suddenly think about how upset it made me, a perfect sunny day. And suddenly my mood would change and I would feel miserable and I'd feel upset. And, it would only take a brand of car would be enough to set him off on that particular path. And then he realized, obviously, that it was time to heal that story. Okay, so let's slow down a little bit. Let's open up. Really stretching and opening. So I think most of you have been, clients of mine at some stage, or heard me talk about Ho'oponopono, this wonderful healing tool where you say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And, where's she gone to? Tanya's just disappeared there. I was going to name check Tanya and say, Tanya's just sent me through a wonderful link to a lovely Ho'oponopono meditation, which I might share, which is about clearing the stories of your inner child. So let's just do a few more long stretches here. Just really open up. Let the whole thing open. Ah, I think you missed that bit there, Tanya. I was just saying how you'd sent me through a lovely meditation, Ho'oponopono, for clearing the inner child stories. And yeah, I've tried that a few times over the last couple of weeks. It's a really, really nice meditation. But it just acknowledges the fact that so much of our stuff is taken in when we're 0 to 7 years old, when we have no emotional protection whatsoever. We gather in all of this sadness and bad stories and things that have happened to us, and they sit there in the background and they operate in our lives. As I often refer to my colleague John, and John used to say, I was 32 before I realized that I was still using a pattern to protect myself that I'd learned when I was 8 years old. I sort of thought, yeah, that's right. That's exactly how it works. And he'd spotted that pattern. He'd suddenly thought, oh my God. And I think he said it referred to, he'd been to boarding school. And he said, I think it referred to something from boarding school. And he was still using that same pattern to look after himself, 24 years later or whatever it was. He had that realization, okay, I think that's about time to let that one go. Don't really need it anymore. And so, yes, I may just share that YouTube if I remember, which Tanya kindly reminded me about yesterday. Okay, so let's let this one subside slowly, 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 gently, gently, gently. And it comes to a lovely stop. Great, gather chi, lift chi up, and pull chi down. Draw the chi down through your body. Bring it deep into the core of your belly. Let the hands relax and the chi flow. Let's gather again. So there's a bit more house cleaning. Is that what I'm looking for? Homework, something like that needs to be done on this story about the emotions. Well, that's an awful lot for most people, but yeah, let's just do these closing exercises, or these, warm-up exercises. And then we'll have a look at the last part of this loop. Okay, so we'll do our bow body. So it just starts with the hands coming to prayer, and then we take them up and we open them out, palms facing forward. So not so the ears are pressed against, the arms are pressed against the ears. Give yourself good space here. But when we go forward, what we try and do is just coordinate arms and ears. Okay, so from this posture here, let's just stretch up into the blue sky. We'll just go backwards first. So let your knees and hips drift forward. You gently lean back and just exhale. When you breathe in, you can straighten up. When you lean back, you gently exhale. Breathe in and exhale. Breathe in and exhale. Good. Stretch up into the blue sky. So this is where we don't press the arms against the ears, we just coordinate. Tip over the head and the arms. And the arms are parallel to the floor. Roll into the upper back, roll into the middle back, drift into the lower back. Let your body hang down, settle, and relax. Take all the pressure off the back of your neck. Extend softly towards your toes. And release. In line with the roots of your toes. And release. Looking back towards your insteps. And release. Heading back towards your heels.
Great, body hangs and relaxes. Lift the tailbone up behind, push the tailbone to the front, roll the spine up, take up the head and the arms and the ears as one piece if you can, stretching up into the blue sky. Nice long stretch. Okay, so knees and hips drift forward and you gently lean back. Up and gently back. Up and back. Up. And then we're trying to stretch from the breastbone to the fingertips and back. Lovely. Stretch up. Arms and ears tip forwards. We gently roll down into the upper neck, into the upper back, middle back, lower back, sinking down, soft knees, soft back of the neck. Body relaxes and hangs. First extension to the toes. Gently release. In line with the roots of our toes. And release. Toward the insteps. And release. Toward the heels. Good. Body relaxes and hangs. Tailbone lifts up behind. Tailbone pushes to the front. Spine starts to roll up. Head, arms, and ears start to roll up. Gently drawing up into the blue sky. Full stretch. Okay, so knees and hips drift forward. You try and extend from your breastbone right up to your fingertips as you lean back. Breathe in and exhale back. Breathe in. Exhale back. Breathe in and exhale back. Stretch hands up into the blue sky. Okay, so we're going to go with straight legs this time. Tipping over the head and the arms and the ears, gently going forwards, work into the upper back, the middle back, and the lower back, gently sinking down. Just let the body hang and relax, but try and keep the legs straight. So we have these straight legs and the whole body just relaxing. Just try and shift the weight maybe a tiny bit forward onto the front of your toes. Just a little adjustment, just to let the whole body stretch for a moment. Okay, great. So we're just going to do as we've done before. Exhale gently toward the toes and release in line with the roots of our toes and release. Heading towards our insteps. Release. Back toward the heels. Body relaxes and body hangs. Lift the tailbone up behind, push the tailbone towards the front, roll the spine up and gently bring up the head with the arms and the ears. Stretch up into the blue sky. Okay, great. So let's just release knees and hips forward. You can gently lean back. Stretch up and back. Opening from the breastbone to the fingertips. Stretch up and back. Stretching up and back. Great. Hands to the blue sky. Last time through. Arms and ears tipping over. Run to the upper back, middle back, lower back. Body relaxes and hangs down. Back of the neck is soft and relaxed. Extend gently towards your toes. And release. In line with the roots of your toes. And release. Stretching towards your insteps. And release. Back towards your heels. Body hangs and relaxes. Tailbone lifts up behind. Tailbone pushes to the front. Spine gently rolls up. Head, arms, and ears gently roll up. Stretching up into the blue sky. Drifting knees and hips forward, you can lean back. Stretching up. And gently back. Up. And back. Up. And back. Great. Hands up into the blue sky. We just let the hands gently drift down the sides. Okay, let's gather chi. Lift chi up. Gently pour chi down. Pour the chi down through. Drawing the chi deep. Hands relax and take the chi down the legs. Let's gather again. Lift chi up. And pour chi down. Draw the chi deep into the belly. Let the hands relax. Chi flows on down the legs. Gather one more time. Let this energy move through your body. Deep inside, deep inside, deep inside. Hands relax. Chi flows down the legs. Back into the earth. Do some side bends to finish off with. Draw the right hand up. And then tip over. Breathe in. Exhale, stretch. Breathe in. Exhale, stretch. Breathe in. And stretch. Breathe in. And stretch. Breathe your right hand up into the blue sky. When you exhale, take the right hand down. Left hand comes up. Breathe in, stretch up. As you breathe out, take the left hand over to the right. Gentle breath in. Exhale, stretch. Gentle breath in. Exhale and stretch. Breathing in. Exhale and stretch. Breathe in. And exhale. Breathe the left hand up. Right hand follows. As you breathe out, left hand goes down, right hand goes across. Gentle breath in. Stretch from the outside of your right ankle all the way to the right fingertip. Breathe in and stretch. Breathe in, stretch. Breathe in, stretch. Breathe in, raise up. Right hand goes down, left hand comes up. And we stretch up into the blue sky. Exhale over to the right side. Gentle breath in. Exhale, stretch. Breathe in. Exhale, stretch. Breathe in. Exhale, stretch. One more time. And exhale, stretch. Okay, stretch both hands up into the blue sky. Okay, and then we just release the hands down. Let's lift chi up. Lift chi up. And pour chi down. Draw the chi deep inside. Relax hands, let chi to flow on down your legs. Gather, lift chi. And pour chi. Really bring ourselves to our centers now. Right into the very core of you, bringing yourself home to lower dantian, to the depth of your body, really deep in the core. Let's just gather chi one more time, and then we can bring it up and bring it back to the belly. Pour chi down. Draw the chi down. Settle the chi deep inside the core of you. And just let your hands relax onto your belly. connect with lower dantian. Lower dantian qi, abundant. So the purpose of our warm-up exercise is just to move the qi around, get it shifting inside the body. Just to loosen off all the joints, just to open the joints so that qi flows well, stretch the channel so that qi flows evenly through your body, just to squeeze and open up the organs. So this is a very simple way to start your day. If you only have 15 minutes, 10 minutes, you can speed through it. If you've got a busy day ahead of you, you can just do a little bit of your warm-up exercises just to get the qi flowing, get your day flowing, just to bring some stability back to you. Because there's a shorthand woven into this warm-up exercise. The idea is that your body remembers how it feels when it's done it. And so you can just do a few minutes of it to draw yourself back into this place, to bring yourself back into your steadiness. So here we are in our steady state. Body stretched and open, qi moving freely, blood flowing well. And now all of our focus drawn deep inside the belly. An abundance of energy gathering behind the hands. Lower dantian qi is abundant. So in the Chinese system, we have the physicality of the body. We have the qi layer of the body. We have the shen layer of the body. So the physical body is made of qi. It's just qi that's become set. It's just qi that's become, how would I like to say it? Commanded to take up this shape, possibly. It's the kind of like idea of DNA. DNA is the blueprint for your body. Well, there's also a kind of like a master blueprint, a qi blueprint for how your body will be. And the idea is that everything in your body is qi, and it can easily return back to its qi form, and it can be moved from qi into a solid form. And so this is the principle of healing, is how do we change perhaps something that's become solid in our bodies that we don't want to be there, some blockage that's become, that impedes the flow of qi. How do we turn it back into qi so that it breaks down and moves away? Well, the first step is exercise. It's simple stretching and bending. It's simply opening the channels. And sometimes that's just enough to let everything flow well. On the sort of layers, I suppose, energetic layers, we have kind of blood and fluids in our body, and then we have qi level, and then we have the energetic level. And so, it's about making the blood flow well, making the qi flow well, and making the sort of energy flow well throughout the whole of the body. That's one sort of way of looking at it. And then there's this other sort of way of looking at it, which is the actual physicality, qi, and then shen. So what is shen? Shen is possibly spirit, soul. I mean, there are various different ways to translate these things. There's never really sort of a consensus on what that really means. And that's what Dr. Pang calls true self. So if we're talking about 95% of our brain being subconscious functioning, how do we control that? How do we heal that? Well, the bad news is that going to see a psychotherapist is not the best idea, because what you tend to do in psychotherapy is you tend to repeat the problems you have. And the more you repeat the problems, the stronger the problem becomes. So in a slightly counterintuitive way, in Chinese medicine, we actually see that kind of therapy as being quite dangerous. So very often, I'll sort of say to you, don't think about it, don't concentrate on the problem, because if you concentrate on the problem, you're giving your power to it. This is this idea of Yi Dao, Qi Dao, where your mind goes, the Qi follows. So if your mind is constantly returning to the bad time you had with that person, then that's constantly being reactivated and constantly being strengthened. So we have to live in the present moment, as we always hear. Every Western, and Eastern story tells us that we should be living in the present moment. Tricky to do, but the point about it is that if you're living in the past, you're giving energy to something that's already taken all of your energy, and now you're giving it more energy. If you're living in the future, then you're living somewhere where you can't actually
dictate what's going to happen. It's all moving and shifting. So you're putting energy out to something that's not actually really useful. So here we are in the present moment. We're just in our bodies, we're just doing our class, we're not thinking about the past and the future, we're just staying right here. And this is how we try to heal ourselves, is just to be with our bodies, not to be wasting energy in the past and the future. So here we stand with our hands on our lower dantian. When we put our hands here, the chi starts to gather deep in the belly. So the things we can control are right here in our body. We can move the physicality of the body around. We can move the chi around to unblock it, but we have to get to our minds. And our minds are the big player in all of this. The minds are the difficult things to get round. And so if somebody says to you, stop worrying, I mean, how much use is that? It's an impossible thing to just go, oh yes, that's a good idea, I'll stop worrying. Or stop being scared. Yep, I'll just stop being scared. Those are just not things we can do. So we have to find strategies to work with the current state we're in. So from a Dr. Pang perspective, the founder of Zheneng Qigong, he basically says, it's all about healing yourself from your true self. So from the moment you're born, from the moment you're conceived, I mean, I'm not really an expert on that, but I'm assuming that that spark that creates human life is the sort of entry of some of the true self into your body. That moment of conception is where the true self starts to build its new life, a new form. So how would we describe true self? The idea would be that the entirety of our universe is consciousness. The entirety of our universe is a conscious mind, let's say, of which you are an expression. We like to think of ourselves as being very real, very individual. But in that description of it, it suddenly makes us all puppets and a puppet master dancing us all along. Well, perhaps it is a little bit like that, but I think that we have free will as well. So we are this beautiful spark of consciousness, but that spark of consciousness is never not part of the whole. So the joy of a droplet of water returning back to the ocean. This ecstatic moment when the consciousness becomes back as one. So that would probably represent death in our paradigm, returning back to the ocean. But your consciousness never dies. There's always this consciousness that pervades everything and everyone. And so we sometimes hear people say, I look into your eyes and I see myself. You look into my eyes and I reflect you. So we are shades of each other. We're all part of this beautiful greater experiment. We're all one at the absolute root. And so it's easier to think that perhaps you've got a little compartmentalized piece of true self inside you that you can work with. So let's take that as a possible structure. Your true self becomes hidden by the stories, hidden by the patterns. So you imagine this beautiful little spark of light, and then people are just, gosh, I was just trying to think of some sort of Christmas image there. I think at this time of year, like a little light on top of the tree, and then suddenly there's things being piled on top of the tree. Suddenly the light, you can't quite see it anymore. I'm not quite sure. I haven't got the image quite right. But let's just think about our little light, our spark of beautiful consciousness, and layer after layer is being placed on top of it. And so the layers that are placed on top of it, I always list them. Your family values, your family's mood, your family's stories, your family's situation, your schooling, be it bad or good, crazy school teachers. I'm sure there's someone here who can respond to that. And then this idea of colleagues who can be difficult, and lovers who can be difficult, and friends who can create chaos in our lives.
the stories from religion that we take on, that become part of our social culture, all of these things, one after the other, flopping on top of this beautiful light, covering it over again and again and again. And somehow you lose sight of this beautiful light. Somehow it just gets hidden by life. And so many years ago, I was drawn to have the Om symbol tattooed on my arm. Still have it, just the ubiquitous hippie symbol that we see everywhere. And it looks like a 3 with another little curve coming out of the top of the 3 in the opposite direction. And the reason for it, the story behind it in Sanskrit, is the top curve represents waking, the waking state of humanity. The bottom curve represents the dreaming state of humanity. And the other outside curve represents the sleeping state of humanity. The idea is that these are the states of humankind, and most people are deeply asleep. Most people never, ever come to the conclusion there is more to them than meets the eye. 90% of all humans do not see it. 90% of all humans just carry on their lives. They give up their power to the church. They give up their power to doctors. They give up their power to work and money, the pursuit of. And never ever bother to look and see what's ailing them. Well, you've begun a Qigong journey, which has brought you to this place where you are now looking. You're being asked to look. You're being asked to find out what it is that operates you, what is piled on top of you. So as soon as you start to ask these questions, what's wrong with my life? You know, not at a kind of despairing level, but at an actual proper questioning level. What is wrong with my life? What can I do about it? Then suddenly you move from the sleeping state into the dreaming state. You're starting to dream there may be something else out there. You're starting to see that this story we live in may actually be a dream, that you are in some sort of dream state, some sort of simulation, some sort of game, and you're being operated by some force, which is, of course, consciousness. So we move into this discovery phase where we're starting to think, hello, there's something else going on here, something that doesn't quite make sense, something about this world that needs to be discovered. And so we start our spiritual journey. And that's the journey of moving from dreaming, hopefully, to become awake. And when you're fully awake in this life, then you start to discover that everything is just an illusion, that this lovely life we lead is just a game being played out. Perhaps you remember, I always use this as my image, and it doesn't completely work, but a game called The Sims that the kids used to play 10, 20 years ago. And in it, you were given a little house, and you were given a little couple, and they had to become friends, and eventually they had a little baby, and you had to look after the baby, and then they got a dog, and then they got work. And the idea was that whilst you were playing, you could kind of keep their lives organized. And then when you stopped playing, their lives would perhaps carry on okay, or sometimes spin out of control, and you'd come back after having made a cup of tea and discover that they'd burnt the house down, or they'd lost the baby at the supermarket. That's kind of like an allegory for life, really, I suppose. But this idea that, yeah, you are playing this simulation of these people's lives would be the same as consciousness playing a simulation of these lives. So for us, they seem extraordinarily real. But if you start to step back a little bit and you start to look at it and you think, hang on a minute, what is going on here? What is the purpose of all of this? Why? Why am I going through such pain? Why do I have to have so many problems? What is it all about? What am I being taught? What am I trying to understand? How do I work with it? What can I do with it? And suddenly you're beginning to see the dream for what it is. And we're starting to draw ourselves away. And as soon as you can move yourself to this new frame of reference. So teacher Lu always says,
Imagine a big circle on the right-hand side, and in this circle, there's 1,000 things. He draws it on the board, and he puts lots of squiggles and dots and makes the inside of the big circle completely full of rubbish. And then he takes another little pen and puts a dot in the middle of the right circle, and he says, that's you, in amongst all this rubbish. See yourself in amongst all this rubbish. You can't see the rubbish, there's so much of it. And he says, how can you get any perspective in this life? And then he draws a big empty circle on the left-hand side. And then he puts another dot in the middle and he says, this could be you. And the idea is that as we stand here, what we're hoping to do is to realize that all of these stories that we've been playing, all of the play that you are involved in, that you can step back from it. There's just a possibility that you may be able to disentangle yourself, even just for a moment, from all of this chaos, which is called our lives. Just a moment, you might be able to step back and see it for what it is, from another perspective. From the circle on the left-hand side that's completely empty, just you in it, you're standing and gazing back at the circle on the right-hand side, which is utterly filled with junk and rubbish. And unfortunately, the junk and the rubbish turn out to be your family and your friends, your pets, your relations, all of these, your life, your work, everything is part of the junk that you have accumulated. And of course, there are valid bits of it, and of course, there are nice bits of it. We don't have to think that what we're doing is cutting ourselves off and disposing of all of this junk. That's not what's being asked of you. What's being asked of you is to step back for a moment and see it for what it truly is. This is where we find true healing. How can you do that? Perhaps we can, I think that we always have to kind of model things. I think we have to kind of imagine things. Just see if we can start to get an idea of how it would be to be like this. So as you stand here, it doesn't matter what your hands are doing. They can be doing a little bit of la chi, opening and closing. They can just be on your belly. It doesn't really matter. Just however you feel comfortable, just stand or sit. But let's just take this idea once more that I've used before of trying to step out of your body. So leave your physical body standing here and imagine you can take this energy body, if you like, and take one step backwards out of your body and stand behind the physical form. So in front of you, just imagine yourself standing there. You can look at your body from a bit of a distance. You could think, okay. By the way, very often when I stand back in this way, I suddenly find that my body feels bigger. It feels like it's suddenly come out of a kind of a smaller shell and it's got a bit more space. And it thinks, oh, that feels nice. Actually feels bigger. So I don't know if you'd experience that. I shouldn't really have put that thought in your head, but that's how it happens for me. I remember once working with a young child, and my overwhelming understanding was that he was this enormous spirit that had been kind of squeezed into this tiny, helpless body. And he was kind of saying, oh, God, what on earth is going on? I've been left in this tiny little baby's body that doesn't do anything, can't move anything. And I'm this vast, energetic spirit. And it was kind of a real understanding that we kind of get stuffed into these envelopes, stacked into this body, squeezed in. And in fact, perhaps we're energetically much, much more powerful and enormous than that. And so I kind of experience that from time to time. You step back out of the body and you see the body in front of you and you feel oof, lighter, bigger. So what's wrong with that body? What's wrong with it physically? What could do with a bit of an overhaul? So when you open your hands with Kai, you can just imagine dissolving something inside that body, letting something go that's a problem. And when you bring your hands back together, you can imagine doing a beautiful healing on that body, everything coming right. So let's say it's something like a lumbar vertebra that's a bit iffy, a bit wrong. So When you go to the doctors, they say, oh, you've got a slip disc. I'm afraid that'll never fix itself. You know, you probably have to have an operation. We can pin them together. Just say no. Okay, so we imagine this disc bulging out of the side. We imagine as we take our hands apart that the two vertebrae pull apart and there's a big space inside and everything can move back into place. And then when you send the chi back, oh, it's all beautifully healed and working perfectly. So perhaps your knee, your shoulder, a muscle, perhaps it's something like a lump. We just let it dissolve. But there's also another side to this as well, is that when you bring your hands back, you can replace something that's been removed. So don't think it's only about getting rid of stuff. How about rebuilding something? So some of us have gone through operations. You know, they've taken out even an appendix, because people sort of say, oh, we took your appendix out, it doesn't work. You know, right, okay, well, I'd like to have a brand new golden appendix that works beautifully, thank you very much. And all the sort of, you know, problems that they've caused, we can just heal and bring back something perfect. Perhaps it's like a lymph node that was removed, you know, bring it back, absolutely perfect. Golden lymph inside your body. So we just draw this idea back into the body. So whatever it is that you wish to do here, you see your body in front of you and you can make this change. You can draw and dissolve all the problems, and then you can bring back this amazing healing energy deep inside the body. See the body healing at the most fundamental level. What is it that needs working on? Is it a hip joint? Is it a toe? Is it a liver? Where are you working? Just go deep inside, deep healing chi. So Kai dissolves problems. When we say Ha, we bring healing universe chi from every direction deep inside. So you can just feel that aspect of your body. You've got rid of something and you've brought back this amazing healing energy deep inside your body. Deep at the very core of you, things are starting to change now. Deep in the deepest part. It's interesting because we think of bones as being such hard things to change, but they're not. They're just energetic chi structures. Anything can be shifted. Anything can change. Heal your body. So let's just dissolve or draw and open some other area of the body up. Body is open. Body is relaxed. All of the problems dissolving. All of the problems leaving your physicality. And now we're going to bring back healing. Fill the body with something fresh and new. So let's think about emotional things. Let's think about parts of the body, patterns that we don't need anymore. So there used to be a lady whose name I can never quite remember. She may be called Phyllis Crystal. Wow, possibly. And her story was that she used to do a ceremony which was called cutting the ties that bind us. And the ties are seen as being energetic connections. So you imagine yourself like an overstuffed plug adapter with many, many wires coming out in every single direction. Sometimes if you've ever been into a computer room and there's a huge spaghetti of wires pouring out of one of these routers, maybe you've seen something like that. You can imagine this vast connection that you create out into the outside world. Every single one of these wires comes out and it connects to a sister, an auntie, a child, an animal, a place, a thing, a car, whatever it might be. We have so many connections in our lives out to everything that we interact with. Well, it has to be said that not all of those connections are good. So perhaps you can imagine yourself like this kind of porcupine, perhaps like a hedgehog rolled up in a ball, and all of these kind of things sticking out of your body going off to other places, people, times, stories.
Let's imagine cutting some of those away. So what does that mean? Does that mean that if you cut through a connection with your sister, your brother, your uncle, that you're never going to see them again, that you're getting rid of them? It's not the case at all. What we're doing is cutting away the negativity of your connection with that person. What we're doing is releasing the negativity and letting it go. So what would happen then is that as you cut, suddenly you find that the relationship between you and him is healed, between you and her is healed, between you and them, between you and there, between you and it, whatever it might be. As we cut, we just allow the release of the negativity. So what Phyllis Crystal used to do was she used to say, we're just going to imagine all of these connections around us coming out of our body in every way. And then what we're going to do is to ask an angelic being. Okay, so perhaps that doesn't resonate with you. Who could be someone who could help you today? Perhaps it's as simple as thinking about, a grandfather that you trust that's moved on to another plane. Perhaps you'd like the Archangel Michael to stand beside you. Perhaps I'm just down the road from a little place called Santa Lucia. Santa Lucia standing beside you to protect you. Whatever the imagery is, perhaps it's going to be Buddha, perhaps it's going to be Jesus, whoever, some energetic being who you think might be helpful, someone you might trust. Doesn't have to be heavy, doesn't have to be a difficult story. As I say, it just could be a friendly person who can just help you. Should we give them a sword, give them a chainsaw, give them a hacksaw? No, not a hacksaw, I was going to say a machete. What we're going to do is we're going to imagine this person can raise this wonderful device up above their heads, and they're going to be able to slice through all of these connections that we don't need anymore. So as we stand here for a moment, we just think about this being that's going to help us. We just say to them, come on, could you just please help me cut some of this rubbish away? Let go of the negativity that I don't want anymore. And so just in a moment, we just ask this angelic being to raise this sword or this spear or whatever you're using way up above their heads. And then with one stroke, they cut through, straight through, and remove all of these negative connections. Just feel these disconnects as they move away from your life. Just feel that the negativity between you and all of these situations has been removed and resolved. Stop for a moment and think about your body. Perhaps there's a lot of damage being done by cutting out all of these things. Perhaps it feels like your body is surrounded by a layer of Swiss cheese with holes poked through it. We're just going to imagine healing now. Let's heal at the deepest level. Let's just imagine smoothing out all of these holes. Perhaps it might go further. Perhaps there are bits that you need to unplug and throw away. Perhaps you have to pull some roots out from deep inside your heart. Perhaps you have to open and release at the deepest level and just get rid of the debris. Just pull and release all of these negative connections. And then perhaps you can just smooth over and feel that you can heal all of your body from top to bottom. We've let go of all of this negativity in one extraordinary sweep. It's gone. So many negative patterns, all of their power taken away in one sweep. Everything is gone. So perhaps we still have the image of the body in front of us. Perhaps you can start to patch it up. Perhaps you can start to smooth over all the holes. Perhaps you can start to heal any wounds. Perhaps you can just make this body whole again. And then perhaps it's time to step back into your physical body. So we can then, almost like putting on the suit, step back into your beautiful healed body. Feel that your body is working well. Feel that the changes you've made have made you incredibly light. The changes you've made have just brought this tingling, beautiful, healing sensation back inside your body. That your body really thanks you for all of this incredible work you've done. Your whole body thanks you for this deep healing you've given it. So now as we merge ourselves back in, true self comes back into our physical body. But now we're more aware of our true self. Now we know that deep inside us is this beautiful part of us that can heal us, that we can use our true self light at the deepest level of our body. We can allow our true self light to flow through our body and be in any part of the body we need. We can allow our true self light to heal us all the time, every day, at the deepest, deepest level. Just think about that, how beautiful that is, that you have this extraordinary energy in your body. Anytime you want to step back and look at the body's situation, anytime you want to step back and see what the body is interacting with around it. And of course, this time of year, Christmas, family, difficulties, blah, blah, blah. Perhaps you'll be able to allow your body just to gently interact with Christmas and just to have fun. And you can step back and not feel worried, upset, hurt. Just be very casual and relaxed. Just keep your body happy and healthy. Look after your body. You can always step away from it and see that those things are not real, that the true self is real. Your being of consciousness is absolutely real. And that this play we're playing in can just be for fun. Don't take it so seriously. Just enjoy it. Just remember also that you can always shield yourself around. You can create this kind of true self shield around your body. It'll protect you. Okay, so wherever your hands have got to, should we draw them back to the belly? Gather the hands on and just allow the chi to flow deep inside one more time. Drawing ourselves back into the body and just feeling ourselves inhabiting every cell of the body. Feeling ourselves strong. Feeling ourselves healed. Blood and chi flowing well. All functions of your body returning to perfect working order. How about that? Perfect working order. As we come to the end of this year, whole body, perfect working order. Going to set off into the new year, new body, new mind. Celebrate this year of healing and look forward to a brand new year. Okay, so we can start to feel our physicality. Just feel your body. Perhaps you can just move gently, move your toes, move your fingers, move your shoulders, and just sort of feel yourself coming back into the solid body. So as we stand here with our hands on the belly, let's just turn some circles round. So we go around the belly button 3 times. And that just kind of brings us back. Tells the body, store the chi deep inside the belly. And then we go 3 circles back in the opposite direction. It just says to the body, yeah, this is coming to an end. We're coming back to the real world, whatever that might be. We now realize it's a bit of a sham, but we're still going to play and have the best fun in it anyway. So we're coming back into this physicality, coming back into this real world, experiencing it. And then we can feel our chi body around us, feel your wei chi layer protecting you. This beautiful chi shield around you, your chi bodies, your physicality, and then your energetic bodies in perfect working order. They're going to protect you. They're going to keep you safe. They're going to make you happy. Put a big smile on your face. Feel the blood and chi flowing well through your body. Know that everything in your body is working well. Feel an abundance of chi at the belly and allow it to flow up your spine to your brain. Illuminate your neck and your shoulders, your arms. Illuminate your spine, your ribs, upper torso, middle and lower torso. Fill your hips and your pelvis with chi. Fill your legs down to your knees, down to your calves, down to your ankles, down to your feet. Tips of the toes, soles of the feet, the whole back surface of your body, all the way up to the top of the head, tip of your nose, tip of your ears, tips of your fingers. All functions of your body, perfect working order. All functions normal. All functions of your body normal. Put a big smile on your face. Release your hands down by your sides. Let's just bring a little bit of movement into the body now. Just flow a little bit, stretch a little bit. If you're going to stretch down, take your time coming up. Let the body open. Bring some space into your body. So in a moment, we're going to say Haula. The problem with Zoom is that if you switch on your audio to say Haula, it suddenly puts you on the camera as well. So if you don't want to be on the camera, don't switch on your audio. We can all assume your Haula. As teacher Lu and Ling were saying, first Haula for you, second Haula for your friends and your family, third Haula for everybody in the whole universe. Okay, so let's raise our hands up in the air. 1, 2. Haula. 1, 2. Haula. And the last time. 1, 2. Haula. Oh, lovely. Very good. Okay, so we have a little Zheneng Qigong salute for each other. You take the right hand and it comes up. Left hand goes down. We pull the fingers together, put the thumbs on the end. This is called entirety hands. Oh, thank you very much for being here today. As I always say, I'll put it on YouTube in a little while. If you could share it amongst your friends, I'd really appreciate that. Spread it around the globe. And otherwise, I'll see you in the new year for more healing classes, but another body mind class tomorrow as well. And all these are online. So if you want to do another one, please go ahead and look them up. Good to see you.